Welcome to the Backyard Professor Responds video, Sunday morning, December 15th, 9 o'clock in the morning. I just had something come across my news feed that is absolutely astonishing, and it is very important, and I'm going to share my commentary on this particular video. This guy is the real deal. Now, let me be crystal clear about something. I want to keep it real. Every one of us can be deceived. Every one of us can be made to think these aren't UFOs. And they very well might be. This drone situation that's happening right now. There's a lot of other people who say this is a PSYOPS operation, wake up, etc. That could be real. What I am about, let's just keep this clear. I want to know the truth, right? And in the process of learning how to distinguish truth from falsehood, that's a tricky situation, you guys. That's not easy to do. What seems so obvious to some is not going to be obvious to others, etc. And so we end up butting heads. Now, my whole idea is I want to know. If these are UFOs, then I want to know that, damn it. And I'm going to look at all of the analysis, the evidence, the logic, etc., toward that goal, right? I mean, I'm trying to be just as rational as everybody else. This is a weird subject. Let's just be quite frank. This is a bizarre subject. There is bizarre information that just does not quite comport with our idea of reality. I'm not going to blubber on about this. That's my introduction to my commentary on a new video that just came across my newsfeed 1 hour ago. It is so important that we try to assess all points of view in order to have a probability of a truth be valid. I guess that's the best way to put this. Let me share this video with you. This is one of the most important commentaries I have ever heard, and I wish to add my voice to this in order to spread this out. Yes, I will put his description, his link in my description. In the meantime, I've got something to say and add to as well. This is a must-understand situation. And he does very good at this. Some of you may know this gentleman. I have never seen him before. And this is how far behind I am, I suppose. This is the first time I have ever seen this gentleman. And wow, does he pack a message. Seriously, I'm going to keep my eyes on this guy from now on, without question.
Are we in the middle of a psychological operation right now? There are thousands of drone sightings.
I've never seen so many UFOs in my life.
And more weird stuff every single day.
Were they human or non-human?
Non-human. We are not alone.
You deserve to know how to tell what the hell is going on. And I just did a very confidential talk to my inner circle last night. But I think that you need to see this.
People within the U.S. government believe it's true.
The world deserves the truth.
Growing number of drone sightings.
They are non-human, higher intelligence.
The unidentified aircraft are the size of cars.
Like the classic UFO that you would see online.
A lot of people are wondering what the hell is going on. But what if I told you that the most dangerous thing is happening, but it's inside of your head?
Okay, it took him 50 seconds to get my undivided attention with that comment. We always have to reassess what we think we know. Now, that's whether you don't believe in UFOs, then you have to reassess whether you're being deceived by your skepticism, because that happens all the time in myriads of subjects, without question. And if we're going to keep this rational, if we're going to keep this real, then we must be able to be critical of our own beliefs, our own goals, our own desires, and our own biases. I have said this from my very first video. I have biases. We all do. It is critical not to just feed those biases with just one line of evidence because they support what we believe. That leads to confirmation bias without question. That's not a good place to be. So let's see what this gentleman, who is this guy after all? When I found out who he was, I go, wow, where have I been? Let's take a look. Who is this guy? And what does he have to share with us that we might have to readjust what's in our head? Now, notice I'm not saying he's correct. I'm not coming to that conclusion. I'm not saying, at last I found the truth. This guy's got it. That is not what I'm saying. I am saying we must, and I'm going to practice what I preach right here tonight, today, right here, right now. We have no choice, if we want to not be deceived, to look at all voices, not necessarily in order to believe what they're saying, but to assess their probability of being either true or false. This is how proper science works.
You just think about it for a second. There's decades of silence on UFOs, and now suddenly the government is obsessed with talking about them. I want to show you exactly tonight what the plans and motivations are if this is being done on purpose. And then I want to walk you through a foolproof way on how to spot public manipulation. I'm also maybe going to talk about what to do if it's actually aliens. If you don't know, I'm the guy that trains PSYOPS. I'm the person that teaches this kind of stuff to companies and stuff. So the government's kind of gone from decades of denial to throwing around terms like UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, in official hearings. Add to that this sudden rise in reports of drones all over the place, these weird sightings and emergency declarations that are going on, I think in New Jersey right now. And it feels like we're being prepped for something.
I've had a lot of comments on a lot of my videos saying just that. Now, I try to read all my comments, and it's close to impossible. And I do so appreciate the comments. I appreciate the conversation. We don't have to beat each other up and call each other names if we disagree, because if there's one subject that we all disagree with, it's religion. And if there's another subject that we all disagree with, it's UFOs. Right? So we're not trying to cause a fight here. That's not the issue. We can have a rational, calm discussion assessing all of the various logical points, the eyewitness reports, the videos, the pictures, the logic, the evidence, etc. But how do we prepare psychologically for the arrival of the UFOs? This has been my undergirding theme of, dang, do we really want the truth? Do we? Can we handle the truth? I have people in my comments saying, dude, I love your videos, but you can't handle the truth. You're not ready. And I happen to agree with them. One reason why I'm doing the videos, one reason why I'm assessing the evidence, and I am reading books as fast as I can, and I am studying the news items, and I am looking at the various YouTube analysis from all points of view as I have time. Yeah, that's right, because I'm not so sure I can handle the truth either. The question is, can any of us?
But what are we being prepared for? So let's dig in. So why would this be happening right now? So we're going to go both sides. It's aliens. It's not aliens. Let's do both sides here. Most governments don't just usually open up about things like this without a reason. With all governments, when they start pushing a narrative, it's most often to serve a bigger agenda if this is deliberate. So here are three possible reasons I can think of why this might be happening. Number one, a distraction tactic. When huge issues are brewing, like economic instability, political unrest, global crises, somebody's done something bad and it's about to get in the news, governments usually and very often create some kind of distraction. So remember when the Pentagon released UFO footage in 2020, that conveniently happened during a global pandemic, this chaotic thing that was going on around the entire world that we all suffered through.
Like it or not, that's a good example. So now what we're going to do is we're going to see another point of view that my hope, the reason I'm doing this commentary, one, because of what it did for my understanding, and two, so that it can help your understanding, so that regardless of whether you believe in aliens or not, that is irrelevant at this point. The idea is we have to have all viewpoints, even the alternative ones, so that we can, broadly speaking, across the spectrum, pick the more correct choice of either belief or disbelief in order to live our lives authentically and validly. That is what this guy is talking about. This is why I'm so willing to do a commentary on this magnificent video. This is critical. In some respects, I find I'm on the right track, going the right direction. In other respects, I find I'm wrong and I'm not going the right direction. This is true for everybody, no matter how deep and solid your own personal convictions are. And that's a tough one, because none of us want to reassess ourselves and think, well, I'm just wrong about this. That is the hardest thing to do. I am well aware of that. But that is exactly what we must do. Okay?
Number two, using fear as a tool. So fear unites people. So if there is a threat big enough, and I want you to remember, if you're just listening to me right now, I'm sitting on your kitchen counter or something like that, and you're making dinner. I said the word threat with huge quotes around it. If there's a threat big enough, like UFOs, people are more likely to trust their leaders, give up freedoms, and rally behind whatever solution that they're offered. It's the same playbook used during the Cold War. This was called the Red Scare for that reason. Or post 9/11 with the War on Terror and the Patriot Act. And then number three, testing the waters. This goes back to BC years. All three of these things go back to the BC years. This is not something that's original. So governments tend to test and gauge how people react. So if we accept UFOs as real and we don't freak out, that means we can kind of escalate the narrative without any pushback. So think of it like kind of a slow drip instead of pouring it all out at one time. And if you want to look back at some of these historical parallels, this is not the first time this has happened. There's just a few that come to mind right now. The first is the Gulf of Tonkin. This happened in 63 or 64, 1963 or 64. The United States used extremely questionable reports of attacks on naval ships, which were not true, to justify escalating this Vietnam War. And then in 1962,
this is why it's so important. And we've all kind of just heard this cliche, and so we ignore it. And that is to our own detriment. This is why it's so important to understand that we need to understand history, because that is where we get our patterns from. And if we don't study history to see the good patterns and the bad patterns, we will simply repeat it. And that is the essence of being brainwashed. The last thing we want to be is brainwashed. The best way to prevent that is to see all sides, is to explore all options, not just those that confirm what we already believe, but to see the whole wide spectrum. That is what made this video so important to me at this time. His historical examples show that we need now more than ever before to turn our brains on and keep thinking through this. Those who have their brains turned on, thank you. Don't turn them off. Don't think, oh, well, I have all the answers. None of us do. That's where we kind of fall into the pit. We're all working through this. So very interesting use of historical past events to help us grasp what's going on today, potentially.
We had this thing called Operation Northwoods. This is a declassified plan about the U.S. officials staging, quote, fake attacks, completely fake attacks, like blowing up planes with people in them to justify military actions against Cuba. And in the post 9/11, what I would call a fear campaign. So after the attacks, governments push for these just sweeping changes like the Patriot Act, which expanded massive surveillance under the guise of terrorism. So if you just replace terrorism or communism with UFOs, you can start to see a pattern. So what might be happening? What might be happening right here? It might upset you. It might piss you off, but we're going to talk about that in just a second. So keep that in your back pocket for just a second. Number one is a normalization phase. So just steadily leaking UFO footage, holding hearings, using all these terms like UAPs all the time. The government makes the idea of something out there seem reasonable. So this keeps people curious, but not panicked. Curious, but not panicked. The second part of this is setting the stage for a big reveal. And I want you to keep that one in mind. So at some point, we might see a more dramatic event, like a giant UFO sighting over a major city, or footage that is just impossible to dismiss. And you could think giant holograms, giant drones, or other advanced tech just creating something that you cannot ignore. So number three would be a need for a savior. So once the threat feels real enough, governments or even global coalitions could step in as these heroes, and they might call for increased defense budgets. Maybe all the governments in this area need to unite into one big government, maybe a global response team, and I say that with quotes around it, to handle this threat.
Are you seeing something here? This is really, really fascinating. Where is the truth? Can we handle the truth? I don't know. This guy, Chase, seems to be making incredibly interesting hints about a larger picture that many of you are probably aware of. Many of you are not aware of. I am not aware of, and it's time to open our eyes. I'm not saying this is what we have to do. I'm saying this is the value of not just watching and reading stuff you already believe, but let's look at another angle. I know I'm sounding like a broken record because what I see on various different groups on the internet, whether they're talk groups, message boards, whether they're videos or particular YouTube channels, what I'm seeing is bands of people with a certain belief grouping together and ridiculing everybody else who doesn't think like their group. And that is what causes division, right? So if we are divided, and I don't see any way that we can help but be divided because of this subject is so wild. So I understand the division has already occurred. Then we are easier to manipulate. Yeah. And so this is one of the items that we need to be so careful of. Do I have the solution? No. This gentleman, Chase, has some very, very powerful and interesting suggestions, however, is one of the reasons why I wanted to do my commentary on this, to let you know that there are voices out there that I haven't heard from yet, that I need to, and I will as I keep researching. I just found one, and therefore, in good conscience, I'm sharing this with you in a way to persuade you to remain open-minded, even though you already know the truth, whatever that is. Because there's a lot of people, in fact, all of us, are convinced that, well, yeah, I'm smart enough. I know the truth. And that's the problem. When you think you know the truth, when you think, oh, okay, well, this is how it is, I know the truth, then you stop learning and you're the easiest to control and brainwash. And I'm choosing my words deliberately because I'm hoping in a way to shock you. It won't, I get it, because it didn't me when I was a Mormon apologist, but it did take some outside influence that really opened my eyes. But believe you me, as a Mormon apologist, I had the truth. I knew it, and I was never more wrong. I would propose the same thing with this UFO issue. With these drones, with whatever happens, there's gonna be stuff coming at us next year, 2025. It won't stop there. It's gonna come 2025, and it's gonna continue on through 2026. Get ready and hang on, because we're in for a ride. None of us are going to be exempt from startling things happening and weird, wild information that could shake us all to our very cores. I'm just saying. This type of a video can possibly help us prepare for the psychological shock that is coming. And I know we all love to think inside, well, it'll shock everybody else, but I am perfectly prepared. I'm safe and comfortable in my knowledge. You're the ones this video is for. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm just saying we really have to take care here. Okay, let's keep going.
So this could lead to giant power shifts and more control in fewer hands is kind of maybe the goal of that. And this, you could look this up. There was even a plan to stage a fake kind of alien invasion. This is on record, on paper, that there was a full government plan to make a fake alien invasion. But what could be next? What could be down the pipeline from right now? If we follow this theory to the logical next step here, here's what might happen. First would be escalating UFO reports. Expect a lot more sightings, near misses with airplanes, mysterious objects interfering with infrastructure like power grids or airports. It's going to feel real and urgent. The next would be a media blitz that would come after that. So mainstream media will amplify the story. They're going to interview pilots. They're going to release grainy videos and have experts explain these things that are maybe defying physics. The goal, potentially, and I say all of this as a potential hypothetical, to make everybody believe this is a huge deal. Next would be a global event, and this could be something absolutely wild, like some kind of coordinated UFO appearance, maybe a simulated attack, or even some claim that we've made contact. And it doesn't have to be real. It just has to be believable enough. And of course, then we have a solution. So after the chaos, governments might roll out solutions like new defense initiatives, new military spending, government coalitions, governments kind of coming together, expanded surveillance maybe, and calls for like some international cooperation.
I'm going to propose a little bit extra than what he does here based on what very little I know. I'm not coming at it from a sure knowledge because it's speculation that I have heard. But in light of what he's saying and how he's presenting this information of a buildup and a false invasion, if black ops operations have been occurring, if they have been producing UFO technology from crash retrieval programs, and they have succeeded in creating their own UFOs, these black ops, it has cost them trillions of dollars. They need to test those. They need to find a way to justify their time, their expenses, etc. The only way to do that is get out here and see if they can be shot down or not. We will see UFOs out in the skies. That's not the issue. The issue is, whose are they? There is discussions in books, on articles online, etc., in YouTube videos where the governments have created UFOs, UFO-looking craft with UFO technology, and they will act and look just like real UFOs, but it won't be them. Is this what he is hinting at? This is what we have to be aware of. Otherwise, we're going to give leaders of governments, including our own in the United States, unlimited power, and then we become enslaved. No matter how much we love our leaders, we must keep their powers in check, or you become owned. I become owned. That's what makes this so important to grasp. I'm just saying. He's almost saying, trust no one, regardless of whether they're a president of a country or a group of legislators, because they're all here manipulating us. And we would love to have a savior. And the leader would love to be that savior of any country out there. So I'm just saying, beware. It's coming. Let's keep going.
All right. So why should we care? Even if all this theory sounds way the hell out there, the technologies exist to make all of it plausible. So holograms, drones, AI, deep fakes are advanced enough to fool large populations. And historically, going back to the year 1 AD, governments have shown that they're not above manipulating fear to get what they want. So now we get to, what do we do? What the hell do we do about this? Number one, stay frickin' critical. Do not take everything at face value. Always question why some stories are getting so much attention, and most importantly, who benefits from that story. And educate yourself. You need to look into historical precedents, maybe current technology. You could just use ChatGPT for a lot of this, and some government strategies. So the more you know, the harder it is for you to be manipulated. Focus on reality.
The more you know, the harder it is for you to be manipulated. I'm going to expand that. The more you know from all points of view, the harder it is to be manipulated. The more you know about a view that you believe and only stick with that, you will be the easiest to manipulate. It's ironic because you could get enough knowledge to hold a PhD in that particular point of view, and you will be easier to manipulate than someone without a PhD who understands 13 other points of view and is able to correctly assess, weigh, compare, and contrast, and reject the false and accept the more accurate, true points of view. That person has a better chance of not being manipulated than the PhD. That's critical to grasp.
So, of course, I'm just this is nothing but conjecture. I'm just sitting here at my house. We've got a bonfire going on outside. We're about to go sit outside for a little while and just enjoy nature around a fire like our ancestors did. And I don't know anything. I don't know anything more than you do about what's going on. So the sky's the limit for this conjecture, but maybe it's theatrics. But remember that not every light in the sky is some alien. Stay very grounded in what's provable and know that getting angry at things that are outside your control is stupid. It's just like drinking acid. So here's how to spot a PSYOP.
This is so important. I'm going to reemphasize this. Please understand. I see so much anger in this field. Now, I come out of a very ardent religious Mormon background. And believe me, there's a lot of people pissed in that arena. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of hate because they feel deceived and they are really mad. And the defenders are really mad at feeling betrayed, etc., etc. Well, this subject is no different. And as I read through comments on other people's videos, as well as my own, as well as other message boards and discussion groups on aliens, UFOs, PSYOPs, etc., the anger, from my understanding, appears to be growing, and that's not what we, the public, want. We lose our power. Oh, you're just a bunch of idiots. You don't know what you're talking about. You're ignorant. Go educate yourself, you moron. I hope you never hold a public office. I mean, there's all kinds of ways we can throw out insults. We can have insult wars, but that doesn't solve the problem. You who think you know the truth are still deceivable. That is first and foremost what we have to keep in mind, right? Just because I'm doing a YouTube channel and exploring things does not mean everything I say is right. I will never have to claim that because I don't believe it. I'm trying to discriminate and use my intelligence so that I can throw away the faults and hang on to the good. But that's no guarantee that we won't be fooled. His point is that it appears to me we lose our ability to critically think more accurately if we're angry. So let's just keep that in mind. That's critical, really, truly. That doesn't solve anything. All right, let's keep going.
And I've never said this publicly before, but here is the step-by-step formula that will enable you to spot a psychological operation. Separating manipulation from genuine news is like kind of playing detective. So here's a few steps that will put you on top of everybody for being able to spot a PSYOP. Number one is analyze the source. Is the outlet known for credible reporting, or do they thrive in like sensationalism? So established outlets like Reuters, sometimes Wall Street Journal, they report facts first, and others are way into drama. And PSYOPs, psychological operations, extremely, very much rely on sensational headlines. If you see sensational headlines, you need to get the hell out. This is on all media, on both sides of the aisle. There is no aisle if you hadn't got that figured out already. So next is who owns that platform that you're looking at. So media ties with pharmaceutical companies, political entities, defense contractors. I dare you to look that one up tonight. And so step two, question the timing. So you want to ask yourself, does the story that I'm looking at right now appear during a major crisis or scandal or upcoming election maybe? PSYOPs will very often distract from bigger issues like UFO footage released during major policy debates or global unrest. Huge red flag. Next is to follow the narrative. And I promise you don't have to go do 5 hours of research to do it. You just ask yourself, are multiple outlets, this one question right here, are multiple outlets parroting the exact same language? If you see that shit going down, you need to be very terrified that something's going into your brain that doesn't belong there. So PSYOPs use coordinated messaging to reinforce a narrative. So look for phrases that feel copy and pasted, like unprecedented threat or undeniable evidence. Those little phrases, you're going to hear them. You will start to hear these everywhere you look. And the moment you hear copy paste phrases, that is a PSYOP. So step 4.
Now, we've all experienced this, haven't we? Right here on YouTube. We've all experienced this in the different message boards and discussion groups. We've seen people type this out. We've seen people just simply repeat what someone else says or misrepeat what someone else said in order to get a point across. So great care. I love how he brings this out. This is critically important to be critical. Watch those catchphrases. Unprecedented threat. I've seen that one. That, when he said that, I go, hey, actually, yeah. So this is sensational advice. Let's keep going. It gets better. He's trying to arm us with our mental armor so that you just don't believe everything you read. Just because it's in a book doesn't mean it's true. Well, it's written by a guy who has a PhD. That's irrelevant. The PhD may be full of it. He's only spouting his own point of view anyway, and that's no guarantee it's correct. PhD means piled higher and deeper, not more true, right? Okay, so let's keep going. He is helping us learn how to think, and this is his value. In my opinion, we watch this 10 times. I'm telling you.
Look for emotional triggers. So all PSYOPs thrive on pushing your buttons. Think about the FATE model, if you know what that is. Focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. So this is fear, anger, amazement. So if a story feels like it's designed, and I say the word designed with bold, underline, italics, if a story feels like it's designed to make you react emotionally, get out as fast, but don't even finish the story. Ask ChatGPT about what you're trying to figure out. So stories about UFOs that emphasize unknown threats without any evidence, you should be pretty careful about that. And then just check the evidence. You ask yourself the question, are they providing evidence like document data, eyewitness accounts, or relying on anonymous sources and some vague claims? So if you...
Oh, here's a confession on my part. I have been guilty of that myself. In the process of me myself trying to discover the truth and share it, I also have fallen into this. And that's why I wanted to share my commentary on this video, is to say I have not been immune from these problems. And therefore, I suspect in large part, a lot of us have not been immune from these problems. They really are real. They really do happen. They happen to absolutely every one of us. And this is why all of us have to remain vigilant. Right? Okay. It's very important to be as real as we can here.
You ever hear the words, and I want you to burn these words into your head. I've never told anyone in my life how to expose a PSYOP. But if you do all of these at once, you will never be manipulated. This one question. With that stuff going on, I need to ask, Is this going to expand government control or justify new laws? That one question. Well, what I'm saying, expand government control or justify new laws. Okay. Analyze coverage patterns. So PSYOPs all the time dominate the news cycle and they drown out other stories. Real news coexists with other reports. Let me say that again. Real news coexists with other reports about stuff that's going on. If one topic is everywhere, while major global events get completely ignored, you're in the middle of a PSYOP. Next is look for follow-ups. This is it. Real news evolves with new updates. Real news evolves with new updates. PSYOPs fade once they've served their purpose. I'll say that one more time if you're taking notes. PSYOPs will fade away when they have served their purpose. So as an example, if you see some inflated, sensational story that just vanishes after a week with no follow-up, that is called a distraction. It's called a distraction. So finally is trust your gut. Does it feel scripted? Sometimes things feel just off, and I want you to trust your instincts. Back them up with research if you want to.
Very interesting, very powerful, very sombering and sobering, because we all see this all the time. And that's what's weird. We all see this all the time, but with him being able to enunciate the type of question we need to ask, that is what is so helpful here. If you ask the wrong questions, you ain't going to get the right answers. And I didn't say that very scholarly, so it's probably not going to be taken seriously. Let me reword this. Ask the right damn questions. Get to the core right now, and then follow that up with research on claimed news items, right? This is really important. And I mean, do that with what I'm saying also. I am not immune from this process just because I'm making a commentary on this video. You can even question what he's saying, and that would probably be a very, very smart thing to do. Yes. So some of us do end up coming across as really, truly authoritative, because we all want to be correct, but we're not. We're not all correct. There's contradictions everywhere, and there's problems, even within the government or without the government, even within our economy or without our economy, on a global scale, on a statewide scale, on a nationwide scale. There's issues everywhere. So vigilance is called for, and a careful self-assessment, not in order to validate your point of view, but to test your point of view, appears to me to be the order of the day. And that's the hardest one. That's the hardest one. Socrates, Plato was correct. Know thyself. But that doesn't mean just believe everything you believe only and make fun of everyone else either. No, that's not knowing yourself at all. That's staying your head in the sand like an ostrich. We don't want that. But the truth can be scary. I'm here to tell you, there have been, and there are, and there will continue to be aspects of this UFO subject that really bother me. I'm very uncomfortable with a lot of the information that I am learning. It's not, I can't say it's not fun. It's not comforting. I'll put it that way. There is some tough stuff to deal with here. If you're not having that experience, you're brainwashed. If you think, yeah, I've got it all figured out, it's all just smooth sailing from here, I'm just going to sit back and watch the truth unfold and then tell everyone, see, I told you so, I was right. You are the most deceived person on the planet. And I hope I don't offend a lot of people there, but you better take a real serious second look at your whole approach, because you're what the deceivers are looking for, and they've got you. It's scary. I know. None of this is very happy, joy stuff, but this is how reality works. So, got to stay vigilant. Let's keep going.
So what can you do? Like, what the hell can you do about all this? The most important thing that I could give you, and I had no idea that I was going to really be talking about any of this, but the most important thing is cultivate critical thinking skills. Learn to spot the propaganda. Go back through what I just talked about, the recording. Chris is going to make this recording available to everyone. I don't know how or where. We'll make it available to everybody here. I don't care if you're an NCI plus or whatever. Look for patterns in how the media or the government communicates about things, maybe UFOs. Do they spot, or do they focus on fear? Or are they offering solutions that involve giving up freedom or increasing government power? So try to diversify all the places that you're getting news from. Try to block every single news provider that you can possibly think of and use AI to get your news. And tell AI to be concise and apolitical in its answer. It's the best way to do it. So I want you to memorize these 3 questions if you're taking notes. Number 1, who benefits from this narrative? Number 2, what evidence is being shown and is it verifiable? Number 3, why now? Why is it happening right now?
So take the notes and begin. See, this is kind of like a school classroom. He's the teacher, we're the students. We need to be taking notes of the kinds of questions to be asking and write down those specific questions. And from now on, every time we see a news item from CNN or MSNBC or Fox, etc., we now know how to start discriminating and pulling out the bullshit and throwing it away and hanging on to the good stuff. We begin to discern and know which stories to just simply turn off and which ones to turn on, etc., from our news sources. So I hope we're all taking notes. We need to take notes and begin doing this right now today. This isn't just him talking, looking for views on his video. We need to take this seriously. So good stuff here.
Next is strengthen your psychological state. Recognize these fear tactics. Fear is the number one easiest way to control human beings. Governments use all kinds of stuff as a way to unite people under a single narrative. So stay calm. Question why you're being told to be afraid. Question why you're being told to be afraid. And this sounds like some bullshit trope you might see on some yoga instructor video, but mindfulness is one of the most powerful practices that you can start to adopt today. There's a million videos on it on YouTube. I'm not going to go into how to do it today. It's one of the most powerful things you can do just in general for your success in your life, but it's going to help insulate you from some of this stuff. So just a few other ones. Stay connected to your community, not your online community. Get to know who your neighbors are. Get to know your neighbors. Walk across the street, know everybody that lives around you. Go introduce yourself if you haven't already. Your neighbors might be more important than you realize here if something goes down. Build self-reliance as much as you possibly can. Stay grounded in reality. Always remind yourself that there's a lot of stuff going on. And through all the shit we've been through as a species, as a country, as a globe, things usually just turn out okay in the end. It's not that big of a deal. And finally, just get your mindset protected. The more people panic, the more easily governments can sweeping control the nation. So practice a little bit of skepticism and help other people to stay calm. That's your job. If you remember, you are the one studying authority and confidence and leadership. That's your job, to help people stay calm.
So let me do my job. Stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. Oh my God, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. No, I'm not mocking him either. I'm just trying to make you laugh a little bit, because his message is very serious, and I take it very seriously. And so I will also practice this as well. What he is saying is so powerfully practical, and it's from the neck up. In other words, I have discovered a channel here that will help me personally prepare psychologically. And this has been one of my main concerns. The psychological devastation can be almost as bad as if we're physically damaged or hurt, right? So this is outstanding material.
Stay educated, but just balanced. So research topic, like if you want to learn about this stuff, go Google Project Bluebeam. It may keep you up all night, but you take a look at that. So fear-driven conspiracies can be just as manipulative as a government conspiracy. Finally, and I wasn't going to say this because it sounds weird, but if there's a power outage, you have zero money if you don't have cash. So you may want to keep some cash on hand if you can afford it. So always think of, like, when governments propose solutions, ask, do they actually address the issue? What freedoms or powers are being taken in exchange? And is the solution long-term or a convenient grab for power? So what if it is aliens? What the hell are we going to do? Let's entertain the wild card here. What if it's aliens? Maybe we're finally ready to handle it, kind of. Maybe aliens showed up in the 50s or 60s. They were like, oh, these people have lost their minds, but maybe we're ready now. Maybe we've hit some critical point in history. We're at this weird crossroads with climate change. We're exploring Mars finally. Aliens are watching. Maybe they're coming. Maybe we're pinging the radar. We got all this tech and stuff like that, satellites out there. Maybe we just sent out some kind of we're here signal, and maybe they've always been here, but they've just been waiting. And now we're ready for level 2, whatever that means. But here's why the timing feels suspect.
So again, he's going to share with us some ideas that makes us question whether there's aliens or not. And again, I'm going to reiterate, I think there are. But I am watching a man, and I am actually commenting on his video of a man who says they may not be, because I am also trying to practice what I am preaching, in that I am looking at all points of view. This is what saved me from my brainwashing in Mormon apologetics. Therefore, I really do believe strongly in doing this. Even if it's against what I hope is true, I'm willing to entertain it, to take it seriously, to test it, to analyze the presentation of evidence that it brings forth, etc., because I want the truth, and I'm a finite person, just like we all are, and I miss a lot of stuff. The majority of stuff we all miss. So it's always necessary. It's not an option. It's always necessary to reassess what we think is true. And that's a tough one to do, because you have to swallow your pride. I really don't know. And if you can't get to that point of saying that, you're already brainwashed, and they'll be able to manipulate you easier than someone who says, I don't know. Because I don't know means I'm still searching and analyzing the data. Those who say, oh man, I know the truth, has stopped critical thinking and they're the easiest to manipulate. And that is so deeply ironic. And yet that's how it works. Let's keep going. He's just about ready to wrap this up.
Even if, let's just say, aliens are legit, there's some little gray dudes that are going to pop out of a ship or something. If they're legit, the timing feels very convenient. Why? Well, because governments love to frame everything in terms of fear and control. So if aliens are making contact, I want you to ask this. If you're entertaining this concept with me, wouldn't you expect them to be advanced enough to know how incompetent the governments are in this world? So the information would not flow through the government. So instead, all the info does come through the government. So it feels like there's a layer there. There's a layer. But if it's real, it's not just, oh, cool, there's some aliens. It's about what happens next and who decides how the narrative unfolds.
That was a very powerful point that I thought is worth pondering. So for you, my audience, let me just say again, once more, my whole theme is to attempt to keep this on the level and keep it real. With that said, my Sunday night live tonight at 6 o'clock Mountain Time in the United States is going to be a hell of a subject, because I'm going to be talking about Jacques Vallée's idea of the UFO aliens being interdimensional beings, not from the outreaches of interstellar space at all, but from different dimensions. And it is truly mind-boggling. And once again, it is, I don't know yet where I fall in the line with this. I'm still exploring it. It is utterly fascinating. It is quite terrifying, and it must be addressed. So I will see those of you who love to continue learning tonight, 6 o'clock. Those of you who can't make it, it's all good. It's not that you don't have the love of learning. It's that you have other obligations. Everything is fine. It's going to be recorded so that you can watch the recording at your own leisure and pleasure. Come on in. The chat group is fun to talk about. Try hard not to just simply quote the Bible all the time. Let's have an actual chat. Don't make me get moderators. I understand you've got Bible on your mind. That's all good. But don't preach in the chat, please. Show some respect. Let's just have an honest goodness discussion. Talk like you're talking to someone in real life and be nice and learn some things and come and enjoy the fun. I will see you guys tonight, 6 p.m.